being delayed. Whether to pursue those in collection or approve the writing off of those uncollectible bills, including the granting of an abatement. That wasn't included there for the abatement. The party requesting an abatement would also submit the proper documentation to support such a request. Such documentation would include a letter stating the reasons why it would be need for an abatement, and then it would be reviewed. Obviously, if someone just states, I'm not going to pay the bill without an explanation, or just doesn't respond to any of ComStar's notification, generally we put that in the collection, in the collection bin, if there's no response at all. After that listing and after the notification of ComStar, I would notify the Board of Selectmen in writing within a week of the notification of the results of this, including the parties and the actions taken and the reasons for it.
Okay. Comments? Mr. Rowe?
I would rather see the information given to the board before the action is actually taken. I don't have a problem with the process, but I would rather see him come to the board and give us the information. This is what I plan to do and how I plan to do it, instead of doing it and then giving us the reasons he did it. I would rather see the information come to us first.
Mr. Muldoon?
My only issue with I like the plan in general, and I believe that the opportunity to write off funds that can't be collected or allow abatements to go ahead by the town administrator, but I'm a little concerned about the process if on the second paragraph the town administrator will notify ComStar which collection issues to pursue, and then at a point later on we are notified if there's some disagreement on our part about certain pursuits of the debt. We are being notified much after the fact and really could not stop the process in order to, we can't back up. There probably would be a letter or some collection activity that would have started, and if we violently disagreed with that, with maybe even one single item out of 10, it would be pretty late at that point to pull it back. So I mentioned the last time before I used the term micromanage. I don't want to micromanage. I want to allow him to pursue the abatements and the write-offs that there's no issue, but I am a little concerned about ones that we might disagree with, and what do we do at that point?
Okay, Mr. Pino?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Mr. Rowe and Mr. Muldoon. I think I brought this up at the original meeting. I know I would, at least in the beginning of this process, I would like to see the paperwork before any action is taken on it by the town administrator. For the same reasons Mr. Muldoon and Mr. Rowe brought up. I would feel better if that was before any action was taken, that the board had a chance to see names, addresses, reasons, etc.
If you'd like to comment, you can. Otherwise, I will.
You can go first.
All right.
I'm still thinking.
I don't have so much of a concern as with what's presented. I think it can work well. I think the only what I can foresee, again, can't look into a crystal ball, but most, I think, what we would have a concern with are those requests for an abatement that aren't going to be granted. And the collection process may start before it comes to the board. If the town administrator is going to okay an abatement, my guess, based upon what's being presented here, and if ComStar is going to recommend an abatement too, is that there will be some valid reason for it. And a request having been made, bless you, and justification for the request. That being the case, I'm not concerned with the abatements being made. Most of the concern would be for the ones that are going to be denied initially. So if there are going to be any denied before any collection process begins, I'd like to see those come before the board. But as far as the rest of the everyday operations and have it going forward and taken care of, do that expeditiously. And those which the town administrator feels are not deserving of an abatement, before the collection process starts and the letter from ComStar is sent out, or the efforts are being made by ComStar, bring that to the board. To me, that would alleviate any concern I might have for a request that's being made that might not be granted initially. Then the board can weigh in and make a recommendation to the administration or administrator to either abate or back up this rationale for not granting it. So I mean, that's the only, this whole process, I mean, we're concerned about being sensitive to people, their ability to pay, the lack of coverage, and if it's going to be granted, then by granting, let them do it on a regular basis, ongoing basis, and let me know what you did afterwards. But if you're not going to do it before the collection process starts, I'd like to see it come to it. That's just my feeling. Any other comments? Mr. Oh, yeah, okay, Mr.
No, I have the utmost confidence in the town administrator, and I don't certainly hope that's not being questioned here, because I don't mean to do that. But where it's a new policy, as I said at the other meeting, I think we should all be in on the ground floor and work our way up from there, just because it's something new, and there was a lot of discussion over the new policy, the prices, etc. I would be more comfortable if we were all on the ground floor, and then as we go up, if it need not be done, we change it. And that could be as early as 2 months or whatever. You know, if everything is working fine and we all, and the majority of us agree, well, there's no more need for us to, exactly what you said, to see the ones that are going to be abated. I would have no problem with changing that. But I'd like to be in on the ground floor of the whole process, at least in the beginning. That's just me.
Mr. Murphy.
The town administrator is a professional, and we pay him for his expertise, and I firmly believe that we should design the policy and the process such that we don't have to get involved. I think that if I understand the process correct, all bills will go from ComStar. There'll be 3 billings, and then the decision will be made whether or not it goes to a collection agency. I see that as one critical point. The other piece is the abatement. If someone gets a bill, they're likely to request the abatement on the first bill or the second bill, not necessarily the third bill. You could enhance this policy to address those 2 issues by just having perhaps a review before it goes to a collection agency. Because under this policy, he's going to notify us within a week. So if someone requests an abatement, a week later we'll know that someone requested an abatement and he denied it, unless I'm misreading the policy. I think the difficulty will be somebody requests an abatement and it ends up going to a collection agency. That's where the real, I mean, it's those notifications to a collection agency that I think are probably of greatest concern. The rest of it is a billing process. So perhaps we could handle it that way. That there's this process works. Just add to this third bullet that that the town administrator will not notify or request. ComStar will send it to the collection agency or not based on our request. They're not going to determine on their own, I'm going to send this to a collection agency. So perhaps that's where we need to put the review to address, I think, all of the concerns. Because, again, I think we pay him for his expertise, let him exercise his expertise and let him exercise his judgment. And if we find after the fact it was inappropriate or incorrect, then we'll address the issue then. But I think that if we start out deeply involved in the process, it'll be hard to push it back out. It's real easy to reel things in, This is my experience at work. I mean, you push it out, you give them the responsibility, you give them the accountability, you give them the direction, and you can always reel it in over time if it's not working right. But I still see that collection agency notification as the trigger point. I mean, if he denies an abatement, we'll get the notification in that 1 week time frame anyway. It's just, if he denied an abatement after a third notice and then send it to the collection agency, we're probably all going to get a phone call. So that's a trigger point, is the notification to send it to the collection agency.
Mr. Younger?
I'm putting here maybe possibly a 2A, adding this, maybe it simplifies it, between the second and the third bullet. Denials of abatements will be forwarded to the Board of Selectmen for review and approval or decision as far as if I denied an abatement. I mean, if you have someone that you send, because they send out for the bill 3 times and they don't respond, and the bills do state on them now that, if you wish to, wish an abatement or that, please notify. So if someone's right out and saying, I'm not paying the bill, or just is failing to respond, I mean, there's no request for abatement, so that should I think, straight go to collection in that particular case. Now, if someone is requesting an abatement and I deny it, I don't have a problem adding that section here, that denial of an abatement will go to the Board of Selectmen for their review. You can overturn the decision on there, or else you can ratify it.
I don't disagree with what Tom just said. The only thing is I think it might be a good idea to add those 2 caveats to 2. If, for the reasons that you might deny and send to collection for pursuit of paying the bill, is that the person has not responded and or said they will not pay the bill. That's part of the policy where he would move forward and send that to collection. I mean, I think that should be spelled out as part of a policy.
So, Mr. Rowe?
Well, I'll go back to originally the way I feel, and I still feel, and it is a matter of accountability, and I represent the townspeople in North Reading, and I see no reason as to whether he's a professional, it doesn't make any difference, and whether he's here or a new town administrator or things change, that there's no reason why it can't come before the board for approval or disapproval, and I would rather see it come before an action is taken than after. Once you take an action, it's a lot more difficult to change it. This way here, if he has substantial reason to do one thing or the other, it should be simple for us to read it and okay it, or if in an instance we don't, we have that option. If it goes through as it is, basically we don't have that option. He has the authority to do it. Once that it's done, it's done. And I still feel that at least until as Mr. Vino mentioned, until a process has been used and then we feel that it's working fine and adequately, then we can relinquish that. At this point, I feel it is our responsibility and it should stay here.
Mr. Vino?
Just on a follow-up, I'm going to stick with my first feelings, but I would be willing to look at another final draft and consider that. I'm not going to consider it tonight because I've heard a number of it. I will be open-minded enough to look at another draft, but right now I'm just not comfortable with. I'd rather have it come before us because, in all due respect to Mr. Murphy, I think it's just as easy for us to give it up too, as you know, we talked about reeling it back in. I think it's just as easy to say, we're not going to do it anymore. And that's the way I feel. So I'm willing to look at another draft, but right now I'm standing pat on. I'd like it to all come before us, and until I see another draft.
All right, Tom, you've got some suggestions. You want to come back at the next meeting with
Okay, I've got mixed results coming back, so I mean, it looks like it'll probably be 2 different policies. Because, okay.
Give us an either or. See if you can be a consensus builder here.